Welcome back to Dam and Museums 2022. Here is your event chair, David Lipsey.
Thanks so much. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to be talking with Cécile van der Harten from Rijksmuseum about meeting in New York City. And we had the most interesting meeting planned imaginable about some very complex digital and allied challenges in the museum community. And we had a wonderful group that was going to get together. And I know that group is still wonderful. I know that group still wants to get together. And luckily, because of what we're able to do with technology, we can welcome Cécile to bring us up to date with a presentation entitled Making the Big Leap to a New Dam System at the Right Time. And I like every dimension of that. Cécile, it's been fun working with you to get your presentation together. We really appreciate your contribution. And now, over to you.
Well, thank you, David. That time that you were referring to was well ahead of our journey into a new dam system. So good afternoon and good morning, or good morning. I am Cécile van Harten, and my colleague Iris Labeur and I have been invited to tell you about our quest for a new dam system for the Rijksmuseum. Unfortunately, Iris cannot be present due to personal circumstances, and I will represent her as best as possible. Instead of Iris, I'm joined by Shifrani Leitenu, information manager of our IT department, who was a member of our project team and who will also be present later on at our round table. So let me already apologize for being maybe clumsily, because I have to move through the text of Iris as well. So let's start and begin. So the last year we have been working with a small project team on the preparations for a tender and getting the whole organization ready for moving to a new system. And let me begin with telling you something about the Rijksmuseum. So the collection of this museum, who is the National Museum of History and Art in the Netherlands, consists of about 1 million very diverse objects, as you can see. And as you can see also on the slide, only 1% is actually unshown in the museum, and about 5% is on loan in the Netherlands and abroad. And most of it is stored in our depots. And as I always like to say, the collection is here, there, and everywhere. It's on the building itself, it is in private houses throughout the land, in our museum depots, in governmental buildings, and of course, on show. So let's go back where it began for our first dam, and that was in 2003. That was when a major renovation started in the museum. And as you can see, not everything went as planned. And this photo was made in 2006, around the time that I started working in the Rijksmuseum, somewhere at the end of 2006. And at that time, only a very small part of the collection, even less than that 1%, was on show or traveled through the country as a Rijksmuseum on tour, as they call it. And management realized that the renovation would take much longer than planned. And I think you can imagine a little bit of it if you see the water in what is now called our entry hall or atrium. So it would take much longer than planned, and the museum would stay closed for years. And they were looking for alternative ways to share the collection with the public. And they decided to open up the museum online and to start a major digitization operation. And I was hired at the end of 2006 to organize and manage that digitization campaign and to set up a standardized high quality digital photography workflow. And just as a note, everybody now is so used of being online with museum collections. In 2006, that was not sort of as usual as we're now used to. So that quality digital workflow that was needed, I think this slide says it all. If you had a Google search in 2007, you would come up with a milkmaid in all kinds of yellow. And you could see that the quality of the image material couldn't be guaranteed. And in the early days of digital scanning and photography, color management was rare. And actichromes and all kinds of file types and multiple tweaked versions of paintings circulated at several printers, on servers and computers, and in desk drawers of colleagues. And I think that was the common ground with all museums, actually, or everywhere in the world. And in the museum, in the Rijksmuseum, the image department had no or little control on the images used in and outside the museum, which was quite worrisome if you see what Google looked like in 2007. But I realized very quickly that that wasn't an exclusive Rijksmuseum problem, because I made the picture on the right in Paris, in the Louvre, somewhere in 2007 as well. And you can see that also the Mona Lisa looked very different on every publication. And in our museum shop, again, the milkmaid had all kinds of a wide array of yellow, whether it was postcards or books, it all looked different. So one thing was clear. A digitization campaign would only be successful with a standardized studio protocol in which the quality was above any discussion and would be scientific reliable. And management wanted a recognizable Rijksmuseum quality. So if you would open up the website, everything would look the same. Everything would have the same look and Rijksmuseum feel. So that was how it was explained. And as you can see on the left, this is how what you would see if you would have the same search for porcelain, and on the right, only 4 years later, it looked much more standardized. So far, so good. So the Rijksmuseum decided to look for a dam system in 2006 that could store a future mass production of digital images, a dam that had to relieve our collection management system, that would organize the available images, would be serving our new website, and would be able to support an image request service. So this system would be connected with our collection information system ATLib and had to be accessible for everyone in the museum and from a home-based computer. It would also enable us to centralize all actions in the museum concerning images and make an end to the old habits of storing your own image material. And this is actually how our first DAM version looked like. I'm happy to have still stored all my old presentations, so it's still there. And this is how our workflow looked like. As said before, we needed a solid procedure for photography requests and planning and image requests, and an automated ordering system was developed in SharePoint, and that was connected with the DAM system. And at the same time, an order form was designed to allow customers from outside the organization to order images from the collection through our website. And this way, all requests were centrally organized, and the image department was the only source for images from the collection of the Rijksmuseum. And this way would be able to control and guarantee the quality of the files delivered. So since that time, we have come a long way. As you can see, we have installed standardized studio protocols and workflows, which are followed internationally and are an example for many museums. And almost our entire collection is digital available, and almost all the old photographs have been replaced now by high definition digital photography. And luckily, our girl in blue does no longer look like a gringo. As you can also see, since 2007, we almost completely photographed our collection, and our photography activities slowly shift to more and more technical and scientific photography. But this has given us a whole new set of challenges in recent years. So when I started working for the Rijksmuseum, I was told to fill the beast, as the dam system was called at the museum, and they just purchased. And I came from the picture desk of a newspaper where working with a dam at that time was a daily routine already. And the choice for a dam in the world of heritage was quite revolutionary, as I would soon understand. So in 2006, the Rijksmuseum was ahead of her time. And over the years, we have experienced a lot of first mover disadvantages. The dam was implemented successfully in 2007. At this moment, our dam contains almost 1.8 million images from our collection. A lot of objects have multiple images and are all photographed following those fixed protocols. And as you can imagine, we outgrew the system, and the time to switch to a new dam was much overdue. And in a way, Corona came as a blessing in disguise, because it gave us the opportunity to focus on what we would need in a future dam. So far, my contribution to this presentation. At this point, I would have given the floor to Iris to tell you how we went about over the past 1.5 years. But I will read now her notes to you as best as I can. So, a new dam, why? In this slide, we see a colleague selling reproductions in 1951, and that is basically what we still do. We supply images to our internal and external clients, and the dam that was acquired in 2007 was just a new tool that allowed us to do that easier and faster. And since 2007, lots of things have changed. We are producing more and more images, and our files have gotten a lot bigger, to an extent that some files are too big to be ingested in our current system. Also, the expectations of our clients have changed. They have higher expectations and demands, and they are looking for a better user experience, a better metadata structure, and a clearer and better integration between the different systems used in the museum. And in a way, our first dam was a hinge between an old and a new way of working. Because I, Iris, think the biggest change, and I agree with her, the biggest change of the last couple of years was that we have shifted from supplier to facilitator. Rather than being the friendly lady behind the counter that supplies you with what you need, our customers want and expect the systems to be straightforward and easy to use, so they can find what they need themselves. And we need a new tool to help make that shift possible. So, what did we do? First of all, we had to get started finding that new tool. And what was incredibly important was that management relied on our expertise and gave their full trust and support in the preparations for a new dam system. So the need to acquire a new system was also widely supported within the Rijksmuseum. And in the museum, it is usual with every project that is started to set up a project group or a steering committee to which the project team reports regularly. And in this steering committee, I and the head of the IT department were project leads, joined by a small delegation of colleagues from different departments with a strong interest in the new system. The project team responsible for all the groundwork consisted of myself and Iris is our current key user for the dam and has built an enormous amount of expertise. And over the last years, she has slowly developed into an information specialist in addition to her ongoing work. She has been attending a lot of Henry Stewart webinars and seminars, by the way, and I call her jokingly our director of DAM and metadata. My part was mainly to monitor progress and deadlines with occasionally a good idea. From our IT department, Shifrani, who is second on the left, was given the task to support as a functional manager, and he has become since then a DAM expert on his own. And Sven Nauta, second on the right, is in the Rijksmuseum responsible for mapping the museum workflows and processes. And he joined us to map the specific processes and dependencies surrounding the dam. And we spent a lot of our time in lockdown meetings wrapping our heads around getting this new tool. There were three main topics we set out to research: user wishes and demands, the scope, and the workflows and processes. And in the next slide, I'll explain how and why we looked at these topics. So let's start with the users. The most important starting point was to develop a vision of what the museum would need in the future. And for this, it was necessary to ask our colleagues for input. As our first action, we did send a small questionnaire to a broad group of colleagues from all different departments with a few simple questions. How do you use Rijksmuseum images in your work? And where do you get them? And what is good about the current setup and what doesn't work? And after that, we invited small groups of people for brainstorm sessions to expand on the answers given in the questionnaire. And we asked them to paint the ideal picture. So we also asked them to speculate on possible future developments that would affect the dam. Maybe that was even one of the most important questions. That generated a lot of wishes and ideas. And thanks to Shifrani, who was very good at picturing everything and all the information in Miro, all sorts of maps and graphics made clear what our colleagues wanted and what they needed. The main finding was that the current setup is not very user-friendly. It's cumbersome and complicated to use. And this was illustrated by the fact that quite a few people asked for features our current system already offered, but not very obvious because they didn't know. And some of them started using our external website for images, even though they knew the website was not complete and not entirely up to date. In the end, all the input from the questionnaire and the group sessions was compiled, and the end result was 58 unique user stories. And we grouped them according to the user story rules, like as, type of user, I want, a goal, so I can, with a result. Next item was the scope. As became clear from our user sessions, it is important for the DAM users to understand where they have to go for the information they need. And we have a wide variety of material ranging all the way from smartphone snapshots to super high-end scientific captures that aid or restore us in their work. And it is a broad user base with very different and specific needs. And in order to have a workable system and to cater to our needs and that of our colleagues, we had to figure out what sort of metadata and search option we needed. We also had to establish what would live in our DAM and what is better off stored somewhere else. Thinking and talking about the scope has been very helpful in our thought process, in our understanding of what we will need for our new DAM. And it helped us to focus and zoom in and to broaden our perspective. It is also something that we have to maintain, we realized, and will start doing in the future on a regular basis. So what was also very important, as I already sketched just now, was mapping workflows, and processes. And besides figuring out what lives inside our dam, we also needed to establish where our dam would live and who and what depends on our dam, both technical and human. And by mapping this in Blue Dolphin, we made sure that when we migrate, we will know what systems and workflows will be affected, and we can make sure there will be no unexpected disruptions to people and system. It also gives us an idea of the technical requirements we need. And as I explained earlier, Sven is currently mapping all processes and workflows for the Rijksmuseum, and he helped us to map the dam and all related workflows. And there was one startup question that was really very good, what we, during this process, asked ourselves constantly, and that was, when the dam shuts down, who is going to call you first? That gives you a sort of an indication. So after all our research, we have enlisted outside help. Iris and I followed during Corona time Henry Stewart's seminars of Jared Gingras on selecting a new dam, and we asked him to join us as our consultant. And based on our user stories and requirements, he has compiled a shortlist for us with possible products. And he has taken our research and user stories and combined them into user scenarios that will be used to assess the vendors on our shortlist. So in this slide from Shafrani, you can see where we currently are. The user stories, workflows, and dependencies, that is the light blue one in Dutch, have resulted in a short list and in user scenarios. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be demoing the vendors from our shortlist, and we are very much looking forward to that because it is a momentous moment after all the hard work that we did. So what are our lessons learned so far? While we're still not at the end of our selection path, we think we can list a few lessons learned. And it was quite a journey, and we have learned a lot. And an important shift in our thinking has been what I already called before, the realization that we had to start thinking like facilitators and not just the suppliers of image material. And that also meant the realization that we will have to keep doing this in order to be good facilitators. It is not enough that the system works for us. We will need to keep up to date with what our users want and need. So user engagement is crucial and key to success. And above all, be surprised by what the users want. Determine your scope, where do you need to focus your attention, and get the basics right. Be aware of the pitfalls as well, because going into it with the idea of solving a problem might cause you to lose a focus on the bigger picture, which was a problem, by the way, with our first dam. And it might lead you to believe that when the problem is solved, you are finished. But obvious and true, a dam is an ongoing process, not a project with a defined end. After a new system is implemented, we will install, for that matter, a help desk, and we plan to proactively keep our colleagues informed and evaluate constantly. So to conclude, we have to say that working from home and lockdown in the search for a new dam was also very good to keep connected with the museum and to stay in touch with lots of colleagues that we spoke to. But also talking with people in the dam community from all over the world and sharing experiences has been incredibly helpful and valuable in sharpening our thoughts and develop our future plans. So please reach out to us if you have any questions or compare notes or whatever. We can be contacted with the email addresses shown in this slide. And as I said before, we will be hosting a roundtable at the break, and we hope to see you there. So for now, thank you for attention. And back to David, I think.
You're right. And Cécile, if you'd like to go ahead, if you'd like to stop sharing by using that button at the bottom of the screen, we've had some very nice questions come in. Thank you for that presentation. And I think next time we have a speaker cancel, we're just going to call you.
As long as I can read the text of the other canceled speaker.
You did that so nicely. A very interesting question came in. Since you've paid such attention during this Generation 1 experiences of upping the quality, integrity, accessibility of images, have you noticed different patterns in usage and any different, to use a piece of American idiom, long tail or persistent use of images because they looked better or they were more discoverable in these last few years? Interesting question.
Well, as soon as our website opened up, and that was in 2012, all image material from the museum was CC0 licensed. So that created quite a stir, because that was, I think the Rijksmuseum was the first museum to actually hand over their material for everything to use, for everybody to use. And they even had contests to make artworks or commercial products of any image you can imagine. So what you see is, what we have seen now is that since then, the image demands for the museum were immense. And that was also because it was so easy to access. People just could, visit the website, order multiple images, and they got it within 24 hours. And they can make it into, as our director said, toilet paper, mattresses, everything you like. And if I walk into a restaurant now in the Netherlands, often I see all these canvases printed from things that we have delivered. And they look just beautiful. And if people ask for a painting that hasn't been recently photographed, we suggest them to take something else. So we have become more advisors for the collection. So the success with offering all these images to the public was immense.
What an interesting accomplishment to reflect on, and then to think about what's next as other media types get involved and so on and so forth. A fun question came in. What were a couple of things that surprised you during the brainstorming sessions and the use case imagining in getting ready for your meetings coming up in a couple of weeks?
Well, that is an answer that Iris could have given quite easily, but what surprised us most was, and actually it was expected, that we got so many demands from colleagues who said, I want this, or I want a dam to do that. And actually our current dam could do it, but they just had never found it. They didn't know how. So that taught us that we had to go out to the colleagues on a regular basis in the future to keep them updated, to keep them, because I've shown just the old images from our dam, but now we have a completely new updated system, and people just lost their way in it, and we didn't inform them enough. So that was a very valuable lesson.
It's a great lesson. And I think the cadence, the rhythm of a health check, or of using the capability model, something to ask that question and go back, no matter how early or how middle or how late we are in understanding how to use the capability of dams. What a great lesson learned.
And what we learned as well, because we always, when we started off, we thought our dam system is in the middle of everything. But we have realized that people, even our curators, when they're at home, they use our website. So the connection with our website and the dam is most important. because they can realize at home that when they at work or whatever, they should log in on the dam system if they want to have more. But primarily, they don't use the dam. So we shouldn't make a dam into this 5 or 6 or 7-legged sheep. We just, you know, think simple.
Think simple and meet people where they're digital inquisitive.
Exactly.
Yeah, and on that note, you've provoked a lot of other interesting questions about digital inquisitiveness, and they'll be available to you as we wrap up our session here. We'd also like to encourage everyone who's been so kind to participate in the chat and the questions to meet up with Cécile and her colleague in the roundtable a little later. So Cécile, you'll both get the questions, and then hopefully you'll get a chance to meet more one-to-one around the roundtable. But on behalf of Henry Stewart and many of your colleagues who have appreciated what you've shared with us today and the project that you're working on, thank you. And it was great to spend time with you. Take good care.
Bye-bye.